The police department of course investigated the accident soon. It is not surprising when we discovered that Gary's death is not purely an accident. I know our team. From the beginning, I always believed they weren't such people who drove too clumsy till exploding the car. We suspect someone called Jack sabotaging it. But on the other hand, Larry totally sure Jack only took orders from someone else. The reason is that Larry once had seen someone, who then recognized as Scott, waving his hand right before Gary sat behind the steer. The same person he saw, vaguely, before he was unconscious a moment after the accident. Unfortunately, there is no other witness and proof which shows Scott involved. Larry couldn't attend the trial. He indeed gave information to the investigators, but Larry's condition has not been well enough. Based on that, his testimony became doubtful. Although Jack threatened to imprison, he shut up anyone involved except himself. The court eventually decided the evidence submitted is not strong enough. Both Jack and Scott calmly left the courtroom after being found not guilty. After Larry out of the hospital, the three of us try to investigate it once more. We suspect the judge and jury who handle such cases took a bribe and submit them to the court. But again, we lose. The court declared Gary's case is finished. Scott, who also present in the trial, walked out, accompanied by his lawyer with enormous smile lips. He approaches Larry. Only a few inches left when Larry treated him before Scott saying anything. "I will reward you," Larry whispers with full of threats. "I'm shaking." Scott taunting and pretending to fear. He passing Larry while spear his hand like repel flies. "Excuse me, detective. I have a business to take care of." Larry almost hits Scott, but Steve and I hold him. "Larry, don't. This is not personal." "It's now, Steve." Larry tries to get off from Steve, filled with anger. "You can't run, Scott. I'll send you to jail." "Oh yeah?" Scott turns around, mocking Larry once more by his smiling. "Can't wait for that." "Are you okay?" "Yes." "No," I argue. "You answer too fast, Larry, and it means the other way." Larry idling. His face shows deep mourning. "I'm a computer expert. I can access any data, reset the system, or even destroy it. But I can't revive the dead." Larry kicked the mound in front of him. I never saw him that angry. I should have been suspicious, but I didn't. I should have warned Gary but did not do. I've saved many people, but I even failed to save my own partner. I solved many cases, but I can't even catch the culprit. Tell me, what kind of police I am? Larry kicked off the ground again. This time it was harder to form a puff of dust. "It's hard, Larry. Not only for you but for all of us. But it's not your fault. Gary was killed, Mary. He is dead, and I don't." "So, you mean you want to die too?" I snapped.
I never did such a thing before. But I hate to see Larry punish himself, which is not his fault, over and over. Gary's got a family and those who favored him. I'm not. You have Mrs. Lindsay, I mentioned Larry's aunt, who replaced Larry takes care of his father's company in New York. You've George, who has always been your friend since a kid. You've friends who care and love you. You have us. I'm speechless for a moment. You have me. Larry's still in his mood. You only pity and try to cheer me up. He turns away, moves his face in another direction. I've no more idea how to show Larry that those words were right. I realize this is not the time to discuss. Larry still shocks. He still reels after a court ruling earlier. Disappointed mixed with anger and sadness. Me too. We are exhausted. Listen, I pulled my breath, we can't talk now. But if you want to discuss it or need anything, you know where my house is. I enter the car. Call me. Hi, Larry said clunky. Hi, I still don't know what to say. You came. Yeah. At the moment, Larry's face diverted. That time you told me. If I want to discuss it, Larry's becoming more awkward. I hope that's not just for entertaining. No, I smile while opening the door wide. Come on in. Larry stepped in. He said hello to Cliff, my brother, who eventually came to visit me. Realized by the situation, Cliff soon turned off the TV, got upstairs straight to the room to give us privacy. I invited Larry to the kitchen, made him a hot sweet chocolate. Thanks, Larry said while he handed his cup. We are sitting facing each other. Then he is looking around, telling how warm the place it is. I smile. Although we were a team, talking in private like this is a rare thing to do. All this time, our relationship was just professional. I thought it's the explanation of why the condition became strange. I was going to Wyoming, but I missed the last flight. And besides, it feels like there's no place and the right person to talk to. So, you come here, I smile. Feeling happy because Larry simply considered me as the one. The right person who can be trusted in this time, despite his coming to talk about Gary. I was trying to call you first, Larry said, as if he's regretting the surprise he had made. I also called Steve, but he's out with Sarah. Don't be so awkward, partner. You always accepted here, I smile. Even only at a glance, I see Larry smile faintly and then sip his chocolate. Are you okay? He shakes his head. No, he admitted frankly. I can't forget Gary. PTSD? Post-traumatic stress disorder? I ask. It will be much easier to explain if he had that. After all, who's not? If something terrible happened like this, and it's not affecting the victim, the man, according to my opinion, indeed needed a psychiatrist more than everybody. Although we were dealing with homicide all the tea. If one day I felt nothing. Not a bit of worry or sadness. I believe it's time to check my insanity. We're human beings. Death is always meaning something. Larry nod. I keep dreaming about the accident. Blur memories. It affects your wound? Well, the doctor said it properly heals in 1 or 2 years, Larry explains. I nod in understanding. Larry got severe internal injuries, other than a slight wound in the head that still needs to bandage until now. He insisted he is fine and forces himself to testify in court 2 days ago. Seeing his condition, he may have to abandon his horsing hobby for a long time and keep him from the shock that can aggravate the situation. How's your plan? I turn face. I'm not ready to discuss my plan resignation now. Not at the time when Larry needing most moral support after Gary's death and disappointing court results. I will start working next week, Larry said without waiting for me to respond to his question. It's something out of my prediction. Maybe working as a curing therapy for Larry. But next week? Isn't it too fast? You will start investigating homicide. Like this? You mean this? Larry points his bandage. This is fashion, Mary, he said calmly, not a bit looked like joking. I chuckle. One thing about him I liked is his ability to stay calm in most situations and laugh at all the difficulties. Soon the ice is melting. Our meeting turned into a better conversation. Do you know why people are crazy about fashion? Because they want to get attention, Larry speaks up, continue his line. Well, that's the point. This one works in the same way. He points to his bandage one more time. If you go to a cafe like this, I will behave as if we don't know each other. No way, Larry deny, I'm too cool to be abandoned. I laugh once more, then put my fist to his sleeve. Larry grimace. And then we smile at each other.
The time may not be right. But my scholarship offer can't wait. Sarah wants to immediately establish a marriage with Steve. So the day before Larry officially back to his job, the three of us met and farewell him. Larry drives us both to the parking lot of the headquarters. My heart suffers pain. This goodbye scene is killing me. Maybe I don't need to leave. Perhaps we can go on living like we used to be. Keep on walking and continue your life, Larry's voice sounds firm. My head bowed, almost cannot bear it anymore. Steve holds my hand, gives his support. I take a deep breath. Exhale it, and then nodded, keep moving with no turning. Feels even more sorrow than before. And just like I've told you before, the time was not right. But we've discussed this since 3 years ago, the beginning our team was formed. We are free to decide where our lives will go outside the job. So this is it. No longer after Gary's case was stopped, Steve and I resigned. Then my legendary team met its end. Be separated, walking to our own paths.